Hi, this is the Black Creative Handbook with your host, Kassandra Lauren Gordon, and I'm here with
Ray Brown, not black but brown, drink sriracha.
Okay, so tell us a few lines about yourself, Ray.
So I'm I guess a multidisciplinary artist. I like to create. Ideas are important to me. Like understanding is important to me, and I use those values to basically just create different vibes in the world, I guess.
Understood. So I met you at, just to give context to the audience, I met you at an event, a creative event. I thought you was dope. And I saw your Instagram. I thought, there's some synergy here, because even though I'm known as a fine jeweler, I do different things, and it's really hard to really explain. Well, for me, you might be different. I'm going to find that out today. But it's really hard for me to tell people, yeah, I do jewelry, I do X, Y, Z, I do visuals, I do this, I do this. So I definitely want to like go into your mind and learn from you. How do you navigate through these different creative spaces and build credibility and just get work and just keep on doing what you're doing? And you said a lot of things off camera, or well, off podcast, saying, how you got into, your field from uni, from academia. You mentioned also about ideas and creative ideas, how much they're important and how they generate so much different avenues. So I really want to touch on that. But before all of that, usually I do this quick fire question. Nothing sketchy, it's just asking you about your creative process. So for instance, if I say to you, like, if you like to write, in your creative process, do you prefer to do things by pen, or do you prefer to type? And then you say, okay, I prefer to type, and you say why, something like that. Yeah. So I gave you a heads up for the first one. So with your creative, whatever creative thing, what you're doing, and you start in the ideation session, do you prefer to write, or do you prefer to type, and say why?
I prefer to write, and that's purely for the purpose of manifestation. And I know that that's kind of like a buzzword, like cliche word at the moment, but it's like it's easier than like what people think. And I think like sometimes just taking it out of your head onto the pad, like, to me, it's done. Like the thing is already built, because now it exists in the world. So, and I'm gonna work towards it. So I think it's easy to kind of like detach yourself from the idea, like when you're typing. And I think it's just something about I think the further you kind of get away from like earth and like natural elements, like the more you're kind of disconnecting from like energies that you can tap into for creativity. So for me, it's kind of like for like mind, I'm going straight to paper, and then it's into the 3D.
Interesting you say that, because I was going to ask you about so that was such a, you gave me so much good gems. First you talked about manifestation, if I can say the word, and then you talked about planning, because I was going to ask you a question about, do you plan, or do you just get yourself into it? So can you talk us about the process a little bit, about the manifestation, like what do you really mean? Because I hear different versions. What do you actually mean, and how do you carry it out?
Yeah. So I mean, manifestation is like, I mean, if you pull up let me pull up like a definition, because I remember I read it, and I think like reading the definition as well. Actually, I read the dictionary as well, because I think language is.
You're not supposed to, but it's like, wow, you have it to hand.
Oh yeah, no, I literally Google. So it's like to manifest. What does manifest mean? So to create something or turn something from an idea into reality. So it's like literally that like literal definition. That's like my process. It's how can I put it? So basically everything starts from within, like in the mind. And then, like I said, it's about, do you transfer the energy from within into the idea and put it into like the 3D realm. You know what I mean? So, and it's like, as soon as it comes out of your head, like now it's in the world. So even if you don't actually build that thing, somebody might come along in like 100 years and read my notebook, and then they'll build it. You know what I mean? So it's about actually bringing it into the 3D. You know what I mean? So that's why I say like ideas are more important. Obviously execution is important as well, but having and sharing an idea, like that's the most important thing, because you can build anything around an idea. Like you can say, like, I want transport to be easier. Like that's the idea. And then it's like there's so many things that you can do around that. It's like I'm gonna have a brand of like e-scooters. I'm gonna like research electric vehicles so that they're more accessible to the public. Like I'm gonna like take Teslas, I'm gonna downscale them and make them cheaper. Like, I don't know, like just anything, you know what I mean? So you can just having a good enough idea, you can kind of build anything around it. So in terms of manifestation, what I would say is like with anything, like the reason why I read the dictionary is because I like to demystify stuff, and I feel like a lot of people's power is hidden in like language and double speak, and people will change the definitions of words to fit their agenda. So it might be like I wanna make manifestation mystical because I'm a mystical person and I'm selling like a mystical brand, like type stuff. But but then it's kind of like, but so what? Like you get to sell your product, but I don't actually know how to manifest. Like, you know what I mean? So I think yeah, if you're gonna take certain things like literally, then you can. Sorry, I don't know if I'm waffling. What was
No, it's fine. But you're talking about no, it's good because you're talking about the power of words. So it's very important. And you put it on paper and it gives you some clarity about where direction or sense of travel where you're going. And then you're talking about no, hold on. You talked about that, and then you was just about to go into a new thought. And but I'm not sure what the new thought was you was getting it into.
Manifest. Oh, but taking it literally. So basically,
yes,
like,
yeah,
it's not a mystical thing. Like the thing is, the world today, like, is very. I feel like people spend a lot of energy. I don't know what's the opposite of empowering, but like I don't know, like
disempowering. I don't know, just being mean, like hugging or not showing the light, not sharing. I don't know.
Just in general, like, I feel like people just spend a lot of energy kind of like telling themselves that they're weak rather than like not so that we're all like Superman, but it's like we do have strengths, you know what I mean? And I think like it's very I don't know how to put it, but
it's like you're not being strength-based. Like you're looking at things what you don't have, like being very pessimistic, but looking at the things that you do have. And I think it's like where you put your focus, isn't it?
Even on like a wider scale, I think like there's so much kind of like so like people will highlight stuff that makes us seem weak as beings. But it's like I said, people will use double speak and language to manipulate you into believing their agenda. So it's kind of like people will use stuff like wellness and well-being and mindfulness and all this stuff to be like, oh yeah, don't worry about anything. Like, don't give a fuck about anything. Don't worry about what anyone else thinks. But those are actually your superpowers, though. Like knowing what people think. Like if you can read someone's mind, like how is that not a good thing? Like understanding the strengths that you have within, even anxiety. Like having anxiety, these are the human feelings that we have. Like these are always going to be there no matter what. And the main thing is about not being crippled by any particular feeling. So not being like, because you can be paralyzed by happiness. Like you can be paralyzed by like I don't know, like eating too much. Like you can. Is
that happiness or is that comfort?
And that's the thing. So happiness turns to comfort, and then it can paralyze you. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like all of these things that we go through: happiness, anxiety, sadness, like elation, like all of these things. They're just like words. They're just symptoms of the human condition. You know what I mean? So it's about these are tools that I have to use to my advantage. So if I'm feeling anxiety, if I'm feeling anxious, it's not about like going away and trying to get rid of the anxiety. So why am I anxious? Like what am I anxious about? You know what I mean? Because it's trying to tell you something. It's definitely trying to tell you something. And I just feel like people put too much energy into hiding their gifts, really. And it's like anything that you're feeling, it's like it must be correct. Like I'm a human being. I'm not God. Like I was born on this earth. I'm just going through life, like not really knowing what's coming next. So it's like if I'm feeling anything, then it must be correct.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is like trust, like people want you to ignore your gut and intuition and your body, and use all these marketing and commercial speak and to seek outside when you should be seeking within. Is that what I'm hearing?
And the thing is that it's not even a thing where people are doing it purposefully. It's just like because I feel like in this day and age, like hustle culture is a big thing. And to me, hustle culture is just the new rat race, like really. And it's even worse than the rat race, because at least in the rat race, you might have some colleagues and a paycheck. But with hustle culture, you're just kind of, nah, I have to be on my ones and everybody else is out to get me. Like it doesn't really breed like collaboration. So it's like if you're trying to sell like let's say a wellness product, and you're like, oh, you will use anxiety as a pain point to sell that product. You know what I mean? So it's like, so automatically you're like, well, I've got anxiety, so I must be broken. You know what I mean? Like let me get on this course. Like let me get rid of that. You know what I mean? But I feel like if you can kind of understand it as just a thing that people feel, like no matter what, you're going through anxiety. Obviously, as human beings, well, not just human beings, like we have to name stuff for communicative purposes. So you can kind of like understand that, well, anxiety is just a name that we've given to this feeling, and you understand that, well, that feeling is a feeling. Like it might not feel nice, but that's what I said before. Like you can be paralyzed by comfort. Like you can be so comfortable that as soon as you feel a bit of anxiety, you're like, nah, like fuck that. Like I don't like it. You know what I mean? But sometimes you have to go through it. You know what I mean? And I think like not going through the anxiety is what's holding people back, because that is your superpower. And it might and your anxiety might actually be pointing you away from something that you're in now.
So it's telling you something, it's your intuition. It's like, because I'm not a scientist, but like all these human, like raw emotions is telling you something, either danger, something what you don't want to do, you shouldn't be doing. Yeah. And we're blocking those.
We're told to block that out. Like we're told to block that out, get rid of it. Like do this so that you don't feel that. Do that so that you don't feel this. Like, you know what I mean? But it's like, but you have to feel though. Otherwise you're not alive. Like you're not
but
human.
then, you know, people want to use drugs and all this type of thing there, and you know, no. But keep it up.
So I hope I answered your question.
Go ahead.
No, I hope I answered your question.
No, it does, because you're being honest. It's like sometimes with creatives, like talk for myself, quite sensitive, and it's just like, don't you think the sensitivity helps me to do certain things? And if I feel something intensely, it's for a reason, and I don't care what certain society says. If I don't like something or I don't feel it. But then you look like the bad guy when you obviously there's tact. Obviously you gotta have diplomacy and not hurt people's feelings, but being honest and being true to yourself is not always valued.
Exactly. But I feel like if you kind of think about it, like the people who you look up to the most, like they are the most honest people. It's like they, so like kind of all the celebrities that we see, it's like we're in a space, we're in a time now where like you can literally see everything, you can know everything. So it's like everybody's human, and trust me when I say this shit, everybody's doing the same shit. Like everybody's saying the same shit. Like everybody's racist, everybody's classist, everybody's like everything. You know what I mean? Like because energy just exists. Like it's not created. It just exists. You know what I mean? So it's like for me, I think it's like what happens is that things kind of get compartmentalized, and you will see like a small version of a person, and then you'll be like, oh, they're racist, they're sexist, they're a dickhead, they're a billionaire, they're a millionaire, they're the proletariat, they're the colonizers, they're this, they're that, and you're literally taking like a tiny and the thing is, it might not even be a part of it. It's just that you've kind of interpreted their energy as this thing that you said it is. You know what I mean? But for me, what's more important is like, okay, but what can we do about these things? You know what I'm saying?
You see, you're singing to my my heart since 2020 or whatever. It's just like, it's nice saying all these labels, and you know, but I have to be careful. Oh, I'm not being honest. Let me be honest. Okay, so it's easy to use all
You
these
can't
words.
get cancelled. They can't cancel the was it a Black Creative Handbook? You can't cancel it.
Well, I don't think it's going to be cancelled anyway. And also, I don't really care. It's just because I'm very careful, because sometimes I self-edit, to be honest, because not anything to do with you. I've just met you, so I don't know how much I can go in deep and how much to. I'm sometimes not always good. Sometimes I just go deep and like, listen, yeah, this is how I feel. These people, them, blah 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 blah. And sometimes I have to learn, like, you can't always. I just met you. Well, I'm not just met you, but you. You know, here I can't go deep. But what I want to say, if I'm honest with you, and I hope I can say, it's just like, that's nice saying, you know, all right, this mental health and package it, and body inclusivity and all the isms and all this kind of things which is on social media. But what are you going to do about it? What is the practical thing? How are you going to be solution focused around these issues than just doing a blog post, than just doing a TikTok? Or awareness? How much awareness do you need? I'm already aware about these kind of things. What is the next step? How can we elevate? That's what I'm interested in. But some people don't want to hear that. Like, oh, Kassandra, you're being too tough. I'm like, I'm not being too tough. If I'm hearing the same discourse for all my life and you haven't done anything to elevate it, I'm getting bored of it. What can we do? So that's what I meant to say.
You know what it is for me as well, is that I used to be like very kind of like I'm still very pragmatic, but I used to only be like just straight logic. Like if it don't make sense, then like I'm not trying to hear it, kind of stuff. But the thing that I realized is like you can't solve like so I heard the example of like you have a scalpel, and it's like your scalpel is like your intellect, and obviously you want your intellect to be sharp. But when you're trying to solve problems, you can't sew up a pair of jeans with a scalpel. It's going to cause more holes in it. You know what I mean? So you have to take a softer approach. And the thing that I found is that I needed to like personally develop my emotional intelligence in order to connect with other people. Because if I'm trying to share an idea and it's just not hitting, then yeah, like I said, like it's not like it's kind of my fault if it ain't hitting, like really, because I'm the one that wants to share the idea. So what it is, and kind of the pushback I get from some people is like, I'll take the pragmatic approach as well, be like, hey, I've heard you, but so what? But that sometimes that can come across as dismissive. And what I've found is that everybody's trying to get to the same place. Like we're just maybe using different tactics, we're using different things, and this is why language is important to me, because like I need to know what you're really saying. Like you might be saying something, I need to know kind of like what context you operate under, so that when you're saying something, I just don't get offended. Like I'm actually like, okay, like you've used these words, but what you're saying is this. Like,
what's your intent?
Exactly. And I don't even have to say it to them, but I understand what they're saying, so I'm able to just communicate. It's like we're speaking different languages, like, but we're saying the same thing. So and to be fair, like not to take it too biblical here, but in the Bible, obviously, I don't know if you know about the story of like Pentecost, but obviously, like
no,
Jesus.
Tell me. Mm-hmm.
So basically, like what happened was the Holy Spirit basically came like into the 12 disciples, and what happened was that, so when they talk about speaking in tongues, it's basically like a universal language that everybody can like understand. And I'm not super religious, but I do like to seek out wisdom. So when I read the Bible and I read the story of Pentecost, and I think about, okay, what's a language that everybody can understand? And to me, that's like if I bring that into a modern context, that's like developing your emotional intelligence, because it's like, but also just knowing what things mean, because obviously, like logically speaking, if you're speaking Chinese, I don't know what you're saying, bro. You know what I'm saying? But if we're speaking kind of like, obviously we're speaking the same language, but you're using different words to me, and I can understand what those words mean, then that to me is like kind of the story of Pentecost, which is like, we're trying to share ideas. The language could potentially be a barrier to us kind of get like connecting to each other. But if we can kind of learn the way that each other speaks, then we can get through that. And obviously in the Bible it talks about like God's love being like the great connector and stuff like that. So for me, I see kind of like emotional intelligence and just understanding of the world really and how it operates and how different people operate as like as like one of my superpowers.
Okay, understood. So we talk about, it's interesting what you said. That's a big thing. I never really think about it as a subject, like your emotional intelligence of bringing people along with your idea. Could you give an example of how you use your emotional intelligence to get someone with your idea? Because I'll give you a scenario. So last year, I did my first like kind of film or documentary. I had no budget. I just literally had a chat and a pitch deck.
Yeah.
And because somehow they really liked it and they liked me, we just got it made, right?
Yeah.
So there might be some people like you want who have ideas and they feel like they can't execute for whatever reason. There might be a first-time director. There might be might not have budget. I don't know whatever. How do you use your emotion in your seconds? How do you use your emotional intelligence to bring people along? So you know you're not having that hustle culture. You're not on your ones. You need a village basically.
That's a tricky one. It's not really something that I would say. It's not, to be fair, it's not really like once you kind of studied it, it's not really something that like you have to kind of think about. It's just like when something happens, you just handle it in a more kind of like compassionate way. That makes sense. So I would say like in terms of like, but I can definitely answer your question. Like for people who are first starting out, I would say that the way I kind of did it was, to be fair, like the idea just has to be good enough. Like that's pretty much what it is. Like if you have a good enough idea, then you won't really have to convince people. Like people will actually be convincing you to work on it. Like that's kind of how it works. So what I would say is like if you do have an idea and you're finding that people aren't they're not really kind of like infused by it, then maybe so I'll say one of two things. So what you can do is just do it yourself. Have an idea of what like the ideal outcome is, but then start and then just start to work on it. So like do like a lo-fi version. Think about the equipment that you have now, and then think about like, well, literally, what can I do now with this? And then the second thing would be to just spend time literally fleshing out the idea, thinking about so in fact, the people that you do want to get involved, think about where you want them involved. Like tell them this is what I want you to do. This is what I want it to kind of grow into. And yeah, that's pretty much it. But I would say that the best thing is to just do it, because once it's done, like you won't really have to convince anybody. And like the medium, it doesn't matter. You don't have to shoot on like a mad 4K camera or like have the best mic or anything. It's literally just like do it, show people what it is, and then kind of like get feedback. I say like that's pretty much like the best possible way to do it, because like I feel like using emotional intelligence to get people to do stuff, it's like it's bordering on manipulation, like, you know what I mean? And it's kind of like if there's nothing there for them to do and you're kind of just taking their time, then it's only gonna come back worse for you, because now when you actually have an idea, you actually have like you actually have something that you want them to come in. Now it's going to be too expensive, you know what I mean? Because you already wasted their time.
So, you know, having all that, like to factor all in that.
Yeah.
In an ideal world, at the beginning of the podcast, would ask you more about yourself. So you said you do your visuals and you do other things. So can you explain yourself more to the audience about what you actually do?
Okay, so right now I'm a creative director, a creative strategist, and a content producer. But creative, so I would say I'm mainly a content producer. So what I'll do is I'll just kind of like get something, could be a product, and then I'll just build like a concept around that. So it might be some photos, and then I'll just go away and kind of think about like how do I want to like how do I want to portray this product? Like what kind of images am I going to use? Like what kind of photography style am I going to use? Am I going to use Photoshop? Or it might be a video. It might be a it could be anything really. It's just content, like anything content wise, like websites, videos, photography. Even NFTs, like tech stuff. What I'm actually good at is taking ideas and innovating them. So if you can come to me with like any kind of like bare bones idea that you have, I will be able to just tell you like what you need to do, kind of like on a simple level, but then also like suggest technologies and platforms that you can use to kind of take the idea to the next level. But then also just kind of work with you on a long-term basis, like with your like creative strategy, your tech strategy, your brand strategy, pretty much. Yeah, pretty much anything. I would say I'm like an all-round just producer. Like I just make stuff.
Okay, you make things happen creatively. So when you say creative strategist, which you said first, what does that mean? Because I hear all these lovely buzzwords. What does that mean?
So a creative strategist will basically, so to me, creative strategy is like a strategy is a very broad thing. And I think that creative strategy, like you said, it's kind of just a buzzword. And I think like it can kind of come down to what is creative strategy? That's a good idea.
Because I'm trying to work out what is the everyone's used it differently. What's the difference between a creative director or creative direction and creative strategy?
Okay, so a creative director would work with a creative strategist to basically build out like everything behind the brand, if that makes sense. It's kind of like it's a tricky one to kind of go into, because there's like commercial strategy, there's creative strategy, there's brand strategy, there's all these different types of strategy. But the creative director would basically come up with like they'll basically direct all of the kind of decisions you make based around like it could be what colors are we going to use, like what print are we going to use, like what photography style are we going to use for this specific thing. So they can work across a brand, or they can work on like individual projects. And then the strategist will go away and build out a brand based on what the creative director, the guidelines that the creative director has given them. So the creative director might say, okay, so I want like I don't know, like a 1960s. I want it to be rustic. I want it to be I don't know. I want to use like pastels. I want to use like bold prints, that kind of stuff. And then the strategist will go away and build out. Based on the goals of the business, they will go away and build out a strategy to basically hit those goals using the parameters that the creative. So when it comes to brand strategy, so what it typically will be, and typically I actually only learned this like the other day, because I'm on a professional development course by D&AD. So we had a visit to a media company, and they actually like talked us through strategy. So brand strategy is basically the most important thing that I took away from brand strategy is the brand promise. And what the brand promise is basically everything that the brand does will have this promise kind of at heart. So
like its core thing.
It's core, yeah. So it's core values. So it's like it's not necessarily a thing that you would share with the customer, but it's like everything that. So for instance, Pets at Home, the company that I went to, they came up with a tagline, "The perfect pet parent," and that was their brand promise. So based on that promise, you can actually decide. It kind of just gives you like a guideline on what to do and what not to do. So it's like everything that we do, does this make our customer the perfect pet parent, or not.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Kind of,
It's like
so,
your moral or brand compass. Should I do it? Should I take that on?
yeah, exactly.
Should I do
Exactly.
it? Yes
Yeah.
or no?
Yeah.
Understood.
So that way you stay on brand, and it's like it kind of just stops you from going too far left, because like, it's like you're a pet shop, but like now you're selling cocktails. Like, why? You know what I mean?
Keep that consistency so people don't get confused, and people know what to expect from the brand and stuff like that. So what was the last kind of creative project, or what you're working on? That you worked on?
The last thing, so the last one I worked on actually was one of my own projects called Snack Reviews. And that's literally what it is. It's like me and my, like we're just like on cam, like trying snacks. There's a YouTube channel for that as well. I'll send it to you.
That'd be great. I'll put that in.
Filmed season 2 a few months ago, so I'm just editing that at the moment. But yeah, that's the last thing. That's the last thing I kind of worked on properly, that I actually put like time and effort into. And then at the moment, I'm working on like a visual. So yeah, it's nothing like really different. It's kind of similar to like Colors, but I want to play around with, Colors Berlin.
Hold on, Colors is when they sing.
Colors Berlin, yeah, it's like when they freestyle,
when they get an artist in, and it's like a bright color, like Pantene color, and
exactly. So I'm working on a concept like that, and then basically just playing around with like different visual styles, like different kind of things that I've learned in videography, in like creative direction, in styling. I'm kind of just bringing it all into one packet, or just like one project really, and then roll that out over 5 episodes. So that's gonna be like a 5-part visual series with a mixtape and a podcast and like a lookbook.
Wow.
That makes sense, yeah.
Wow. I just feel like when you say something, it's so multi-layered. There's so much things I can go into. So you can say your edit. It's like you can build a whole world from your idea, and you have the skills to do so. Mm-hmm. So how did you build your?
That's what life is really about, though. It's like I think people kind of, well, let me just speak for myself here, but I feel like I spent like a long time. I'm only 29, but like I feel like a lot of time that I spent was kind of looking for this point in which I would start to live life. And it was only like kind of like recently that I realized that like all of these things that you go through, all of the stuff that you can, and that's why before I said that you can be paralyzed by a good thing or a bad thing. So it's like all of these things that we go through, they're just things that happen, and life is kind of like about how you react to them. Because at the end of the day, like it's just energy. Stuff happens to us like by other people, and it's like, well, they've transferred this energy into me. Like, how am I gonna now like direct that into something else, kind of thing? Like, am I gonna get angry and fight them, or am I gonna eat it for a bit? You know what I mean? Go away, do some reflection. You know what I mean? And turn that into something else. Because even if nothing happens, I feel like revenge is a very powerful force, like in this day and age. But like people don't understand, like revenge really is silent. And actually, like if you go out and fight somebody, it doesn't really mean nothing. Like, you've not really done nothing. Like, all you've done is kind of like matched. Like, when people come, I'm gonna come with the same energy. Like, and it sounds cool and shit, but it's like, bro, but you was happy 2 seconds ago. Like, now you're on a whole next energy. Like, you know what I mean? So I think, sorry, I don't know why I started saying that.
We was talking about, you talk about energy. I was talking about life is what happens to you.
Oh yeah. So I think for me, and I didn't realize I was doing it at the time, but obviously I was just trying different things. I was literally I was gonna go to uni for accounting, and funnily enough, like I was even on a course with the Prince's Trust for like an employability course. And then as I was going on the course, it was we did a week in Wales at the start of the course. And as I was on my way to Wales, my friend called me like, yo, do you want to do this internship? And I was just like, yeah, cool. So I come back from Wales, I started on the internship like the following Monday.
What type of internship was it?
It was in a fashion PR company. So I was like I was like a fashion intern, so kind of like managing the showroom and like dealing with like clients and stuff. And yeah, that kind of brought me into the whole kind of creative world. Like it was always something that I kind of knew was there, obviously, like watching stuff on TV, like you see creative stuff that you want to be a part of. But it was always kind of like a mythical place that you had to somehow get into an ad firm and then work your way up. Like, you know what I mean? So when I did this internship, it kind of just opened my eyes up to all of the different parts that just the industry is made of, and that all of these people that I'm seeing on TV, that I'm like, wow, like they're just regular people, like kind of thing. Like everybody's just out here moving, like vibrating, just making stuff happen. So it's like, so yeah, I just tried like a lot of different things. I went from that internship into, I did like a lot of events. I did a lot of gifting suites at festivals. Like I met so many celebrities, so many like agency owners, so many stylists, photographers, just meeting different people coming from where I'm from. Like people ain't really doing that really. And it's like the people that are doing stuff, they leave the ends and then come back to basically like sleep. You know what I'm saying? So I wasn't really around like inspiring people like that. So it's only when I kind of came into this industry that like all of a sudden I'm like, okay, so there is more to life than the block. Like, you know what I mean? And I wasn't even really hood like that. I wasn't even like a roadman. Like the block never ever interested me. You know what I mean? So I was always kind of like, well, I don't want to chill on the block. I don't really want to do like this school thing, but I mean, school's kind of cool. Like I enjoy economics and stuff, so I'll do it for now. But it was that internship that really set everything off for me.
It's that exposure, because it's just like, if you knew when you was 18 and you're doing your UCAS that there was a life, you know, I think I told you off camera, I don't know if I did, but off podcast even, it's like, when I was doing my uni thing, because I was the first person to go uni, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I wanted to do drama. And it pains me I never did drama, because but my mom's like, no, my year head, I put drama, I tried to put drama on my UCAS, and my year head like crossed it out and put psychology.
No way.
And I'm just like, but I didn't know any better. I was just like, you know, what, 17, 18, what do I know? But if I had creative people or internship or something to expose me to this world than just pushing people through uni all the time, things would be different, you know what I mean? Because I feel like sometimes I try not to live in regret, but sometimes, if I'm being honest, I'm like, I wish I knew about the creative life when I was a teenager, because there was no YouTube then, you know what I mean? When I was a teenager, only in my 20s. So it's just like, that's why the reason why I'm doing this podcast is like, if you have a parent or you have people around you, like, go to uni, be a nurse, or go to uni, do this, or go to uni, do that, and that's the only way you can make money, or the only way you can be creative, you're like, oh, actually, there's a podcast. There's real life people who are making good money by following their creative passions, and what, you know, then you get forced to do a job, and then you do the 9 to 5, and then you waste time. So yeah, it's good that you got exposed to different things, and you use those opportunities to get to where you are now.
Yeah.
Understood. Okay, so we talked about your project. Here we are. So we talked about how you can get your concept from, you know, an idea to reality. I'm just thinking about, you already told people just do it. Just do what you have to do. You know, the idea is very important. So what is the best type of thing what a client or someone has said to you about your creative work?
The best thing, I mean, to be fair, like, I get a lot of compliments like on my work, kind of like all the time, and I mean, like a sentence. I mean,
well, just a summary. You don't have to say it verbatim, but you know.
Yeah, I mean, I get a lot of like that's dope, and like a lot of people say that my work is different. They haven't seen stuff like that before. Yeah, it's just like unique style, I guess.
What is unique about, like, what are they referring to?
I guess so. Right now, I do like the duplicate thing, like where I clone myself, like in like on pictures.
Oh,
you see in pictures like there's like more than one of me
Okay, I'm gonna look on Instagram as we go over.
on my Insta. So people like that stuff. And then I would say kind of just like my general style, like there's not really a lot of people. I would say like kind of like young black.
I'm looking on your Instagram. I haven't seen it yet.
That are shooting video.
Oh, I've seen it. Sorry, I'm looking. Yeah, so it's on your main page. Ah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Right, you know how to do that.
Yeah.
Okay. Different versions of you. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I think just like for me, I haven't seen because you know what it is like. I think when I first started creating, it was kind of just like I was seeing what people were doing, and I didn't really like I wasn't really like fucking with it kind of thing, and I was kind of like, well, why is nobody doing it this way? So I just did it myself. Like it was literally like this is the type of content that I wanna create. But also I just felt like everything was kind of very like boxed off. Where it's like if you're shooting a music video, then it has to look like this. There has to be girls, cars, mansion. It has to be like a certain camera quality. Like, you know what I mean? The cuts are all the same. And for me, it was like, well, no, it doesn't have to be like that. Like it's like I want my music videos to look like this, or I want my music videos to look like that, or I want my advert to look like that, or I want my photo to take inspiration from that film I watched the other day, that kind of thing. So for me, it was just kind of like you have free reign to create. Like I don't understand why everybody's just copying each other, basically.
Don't put yourself in a box, you know, because sometimes just put it out there. I know we don't like the isms, but being like a black creator, sometimes like you have to look at this aesthetic. If you're not, literally. That's kind of what it was. Like for me, I've always kind of like cinematic stuff. I'm big into films, and I would just see all of these like Michael Bay movies and stuff. They will have like the big sweeping shots of everything. And I'm just like, well, why don't we do that? Like we got drones, we got cameras, we have tripods, like we have the equipment. Like why don't we actually go and try to like put our stamp on the industry or whatever, like kind of thing. But also what it was as well was like I realized that the only kind of difference between me and the man them is that I wasn't on the block for 15 years. Like I literally was everywhere, like doing everything. You know what I mean? So it's like I come back like now as like a 29-year-old, and I realized that like of course the block looks like that, bro, because you man never went away to get external skills to come and change your environment. Like, you know what I'm saying? So the environment has just been built around you. Of course it's not for you, bro. Of course it's not for you because you haven't contributed to it at all. You know what I mean? In a positive way. So that energy can't physically actually come back to you because you haven't even put it out into the world. So it's like there was a lot of things where I'm seeing the disconnect from where I'm talking to small businesses, and I'm just like a young dude at the time. I may be like 23, 24. And I'm talking to these businesses and I'm like, yo, let's link up. I'm not even asking them for P's. Like, I'm like, let's link up and let me shoot this video for you. Like I see what you're trying to do and I got concepts, like we can just shoot stuff. But there, obviously now I realized that they were looking at me like I'm too expensive. You know what I'm saying? And the thing is, like, I didn't realize that I've obviously gone away, like got this knowledge of the industry. I've realized that people are shooting like Emmy nominated shit on their phone, like on some little point and shoot, like shit like that. And I'm trying to explain to them, like, listen, it's not about the P's. Like, I'll shoot this on my phone if you want. It's about the idea that I'm trying to help you kind of get across. So I think for me, like sorry, let me just can you just remind me of the question? And the thing is, please stop me because I will ramble on forever. No. I'm listening because I think when you're talking, you eventually get to the point and I hear it and then I summarize it. So we was just talking about like what are people saying good about your work, and then you deviated a little bit, a tiny bit, and then you was talking about when you go back to ends after when you the way how people seen you, they move to you differently or see you differently, even though you tried to help them out. And you're talking about the conflict about like, you really want out there, but they're not, they see you differently, they see you too expensive, or they might not work with you, or they might see there's a what I'm hearing, there's a disconnect. And I was just going to say something about it because when I went to uni, I came back, people thought I was like, I remember I just did a course like psychology, and everyone, oh, Kassandra's different now. So I feel like sometimes when you go back to ends or whatever, if you try to better yourself a little bit, there's always people thinking that you're moving different, and you're not, you're still the same person. You still got the degree, and they don't realize just because you have a degree doesn't mean like you're getting the best jobs, because it was like 2008, you know what I mean? My degree and my white counterparts degree, where they have like parents giving them internships, they'll have to like work throughout uni. It's a whole different playing field. So people don't realize, just think of like you got your degree or you have something, or I make jewelry, fine jewelry. If they were paying for Cartier or Tiffany's, which sometimes they do for special occasions, it's a similar price. But it's just like it's just like sometimes they have this like cognitive dissonance. There's this distance. If you are different from them, but you're a totally different person or different price bracket, and it's not. It's just sometimes you're not always valued. That's it.
Yeah. I think for me, like I hear what you're saying fully, and I agree. I think it's kind of because I went through that as well. Like I went through like a transitionary period where like I feel like I did level up, and then I found myself kind of like, if I'm being honest, like looking down on certain people from back in the day. And then I think like what like I had to do was be like, bro, these are my brethren, bro. These are my men. I've grown up with these men forever. Like these men actually have my back. Like, so I'm not going to look down on them. And I think like in the process of not looking down on them, like I didn't really feel like they were looking down on me, because I feel like this, the thing of energies is like, you can only perceive energies that are part of your perspective. So if you're looking down on someone, obviously you're going to perceive the feeling of being looked down upon. You know what I mean? Because it's like somebody can do the exact same thing. Like I could call my boy, he don't pick up, and based on the way I feel about myself and the world, I might be like, oh, this guy, he hates me, bro. Like he don't want to chat to me. Or I could be like, oh, you know what, he's busy. Like I'm gonna do something else. You know what I mean? So I think like in the whole kind of like just realizing that at the end of the day, like knowledge don't make you a better person. Like money don't make you a better person. Like nothing really makes you a better person other than being a better person. Like I was just like, well, these men are these men in it, and I'm me, and they're not really saying nothing about what I'm doing. Like when I come back to the ends, like we're still kind of interacting in the same way, and yeah, like, I don't know, like maybe it's there, and the thing is, sometimes I do feel like there is a kind of air of like actually not too fair. Now I don't. Yeah, I don't really feel that personally myself, but I realized that like a lot of because I have friends that kind of say the same thing, and they're like, yeah, I went to get a job, and now the man them look at me different. But then at the same time, I have friends who are flipping like work at Goldman Sachs, and they're in the ends like with us, like with the man them, like it's just man them in it, you know what I'm saying? So I think it's the energy thing, and it comes down to the emotional intelligence, which is that understanding that like this is still the same brother that I grew up with, unless he ain't, you know what I mean? Unless he starts acting different, then of course then he ain't the same brother. But if he's still being my guy, then that's what he is, isn't it? And I can only really take him at that, at like how he's treating me and the energy that he's like putting, the energy that he's giving me, like really.
Absolutely, it's all about the energy. No, you make me reflect a lot about that. It's all about the energy, because if you don't have it, you can only do so much, and you can only do things like people's actions, because as you said, you can react, you can be, I think I love that example what you gave is like with a guy, if you reach out to someone and don't reach out back to you, but I think they're busy, they've got things on in life, or they're just like not feeling you, but you can only reach out so much. For me, I can only reach out so much. Can't reach out 10 times. If I do it 3 or 4 times and you're not there, and then I check in, and it's hard how to navigate, especially when you're moving in different circles. So you're better than me, so I need to like think about my emotional intelligence and have more grace and more compassion with people when you reach out to people and they don't always reach back out to you.
You know what it is though, with that, one thing I found is that you have to have compassion for yourself though, and that's the thing that people don't realize, that they go through life like doing a lot of shit that they don't want to do. It's not good for them. They know it's not good for them, but for some reason, like, they feel as though they need to do these things. And I feel like having some compassion, like some true compassion for yourself within, and your kind of internal environment, that will translate into the way you interact with the world and with other people. Because it's like, if you're looking at yourself and like you're like, well, actually I am tired, bro, like I don't really want to chat to this person, or I don't want to do this, or I don't want to do that, and you're doing it in a way that you're like, well, it's literally for me, and I understand that like I need to do this for myself in order to like bring my best self to the world tomorrow. Then I think it's kind of like that will change the way you view other people, because then all of a sudden you're like, well, I love myself, so I don't understand why somebody would hate me. And it's like, if you're not thinking why they would hate you, like, if you're being honest with you, unless you're a piece of shit, like some people are just pieces of shit, like, you know what I'm saying? But it's like, if you know you're not a piece of shit, then it's kind of like you have to just believe it, really. Like, you have to be like, well, actually, I'm not a piece of shit. Like, I just didn't want to like do this thing. And then obviously there's ways to kind of go around it. Obviously, if you're ghosting people on a regular, like, that's just like, no one's gonna want to fuck with you, like, as simple as that.
Yeah, I find it hard when people ghost, or people like, oh, I want to hang around with you. I'm like, I text you about 10 times. I can't do that. I can't. But then I say, you don't know what people are going through. So as I get older, you just got to keep people grace. You have to. I'm trying to feel, my default is like grace, compassion first. Try to. Yeah. For me, always going to the negative, and it is a skill. It's not that easy. So as we round up this podcast, I feel like I had a bit of an unexpected kind of like surprise, like benefit even talking to you, because you make me reflect as a creative about, pushing for your ideas no matter what. Not to self-edit, this is for me, this is therapy for me. Like not to self-edit, because I think like as I get older, I self-edit a lot, because when I've been through and I have ignored these primal or these feelings, I get in trouble. You know what I mean? It bites me back. So, and what I'm hearing is like, it's like survivor's guilt, kind of, but not really. Like when you come from ends and you go back, and how they treat you and how you navigate that. And there was some YouTube something, I can't remember, IG something, where Jay-Z was saying like, when you go back to ends or your family and stuff, you just want solace. You just want to be around them, right? Because that's who you've grown up with, that comfort. But sometimes they move into you in a different way, and you're just like, oh. So it's a bit of like, you try to get a better life, but when you try to come back to enjoy that with other people, it can be a bit different. So yeah, there's a lot of takeaways I've taken from it. I'm interested what the audience take away from today, because I'm just one person, but no, it's just fascinating to hear like someone who's multifaceted in what they do and how they approach life. You're just on it, and just very emotionally aware at the same time. So I appreciate you. I appreciate it a lot.
I'm trying.
Lies, the lie. No, really?
Sorry?
Did you say you're trying?
Yeah, I'm trying.
I thought you said you're crying, and I was like, the lies.
Oh, no.
And then I realized that wasn't very emotional. Great, but I was only joking. If you were crying, okay, great. Okay, you're trying. Cool. So, and for the people who listen to this audio, how can we find you? How can we connect?
Okay, so I'm on Instagram, not black but brown. That's my main kind of visuals page. I make beats as well, so that's Drank Sriracha. So that's like Drank and then Sriracha, like the sauce. But yeah, Instagram is like my my main thing.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Ray Brown, for being here and just being totally honest and in tune. So yeah, this is the Black Creative Handbook, and speak to you all next week. Thank you.